Welcome to the Dad Code Podcast, where real dads come for real talk and no BS. We are your hosts, Blake Melton and Bradley Newberry. Good afternoon, Bradley.
Good afternoon, Blake. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of DDS, Dads Discussing Sports. Today, we're going to have a little debate about the SEC football.
Oh, boy.
We're going to talk about each team in the West, each team in the East.
Yep.
And elimination style. At the end of this podcast, two teams will be kicked out of SEC football.
Yeah. It's going to be controversial, I have a feeling, particularly in this part of the country. It's like religion around here. So when you start talking about stuff like this, it becomes fighting words. But I think there could be an argument that, well, you shouldn't have been in the first place. But we'll see how that plays out.
So before we jump in, just to let everyone know, what kind of sparked this interest for me was listening to local sports talk. Mm-hmm. And they are legitimately arguing about UT football should no longer be in the SEC. I cannot believe I'm hearing this on local sports talk.
There's always somebody out there that always ends up bringing something like this up. And it's always about a team that, don't get me wrong, Tennessee's been bad for about the last 10 years or so, 10 or 11 years. They've not been very good. Well, and I'll take that back, consistently good. They've had some decent years along the way, and they've had maybe a couple good years from what people would say. But, obviously there's been a coaching, circus down there where there's been a revolving door. But I think that for someone to say because of all this, Tennessee should just be out of the SEC, that is just the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think it's a little too much.
Particularly when you look at some of these other schools that are in the SEC, and it's like, I think you need to look at the list of the rest of the folks that are in the SEC first.
Unless they're wanting literally like 8 teams only in the SEC.
Well, what do they want? Do they want 8 Alabamas? Is that what they want?
Well, they're not.
Guess what? That's literally impossible.
You're never going to get
mathematically impossible.
Never going to get it. Never going to get it. That sounds like a
In
song
Vogue.
that I had.
Was that what that? Yeah. Never gonna get it. Never mind.
Well, let's go with we'll go team by team. We'll say in or out.
Yep.
So the 2020 SEC standings, we'll start in the West.
Yep.
Alabama was 13-0 overall, 10-0 in the SEC. Blake, what are your thoughts on this college football team? I'm going to say the Alabama
Crimson Tide. I'm going to go, obviously, they've got to be in, clearly. They have been running roughshod over the SEC ever since Nick Saban's been there, pretty much. So, they have a long history of, being a very storied program. They have a fan base that travels, which is huge. And they have, world-class facilities. Brand recognition. They literally check every single box.
Well,
so
you mentioned it earlier. 8 Alabamas. So you've already used them as the standard.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is you can't, unfortunately or unfortunately, Alabama is in the SEC and they're going to use. They're kind of the measuring stick for all of college football, unfortunately. And there are teams that just honestly won't ever be in Alabama. They have to do it a different way. So there's different ways to do it other than the Alabama way. So
obviously you're voting that they're in.
They're totally in.
Well, let me give you a little story about Alabama. All right. So Alabama football. Adam, I'm looking at you. Remember many SEC football title games that we went to together. Most of them, I think we were split, weren't we? I think 2-2. Mm-hmm. But they're early. We're talking about Danny Werfel.
Oh,
early.
Long time ago.
I think Alabama wanted to pack their bags and go.
This was
go to the ACC.
Pre-Saban.
Definitely pre-Saban. But just like Blake said, Alabama tradition.
Yeah.
Alabama travels. Alabama reaches. It doesn't matter if you live in Alabama, in Georgia, in California, in Florida, in Alaska. You have people saying roll tide.
Yeah. Can't stand hearing it either.
My vote is Alabama stays.
Yep.
So we're going to leave them in the SEC.
I think that's a clear number one there.
All right. Moving on in the West.
Yep.
This team was 9-1 overall last year, 8-1 in the SEC. We're talking about Texas A&M.
They're a recent addition to the SEC. Within the last 5 or 6 years.
So that'd be an easy vote to just kick them right back out.
Well, it would be, except for I think that they belong. I think that I'm surprised more Texas teams aren't in the SEC.
I think the SEC would like to have the University of Texas.
I'll say this: whenever the first time that people got to go to Texas A&M and experience the stadium, experience the 12th man, and go to the stockyards and all that stuff, it was such a great experience. Particularly, I'm speaking from Tennessee, because when Tennessee went there the year that Butch Jones took them down there, and they were number 5 or whatever in the country at the time, and A&M was like 4 or 6 or something like that, and A&M won, but it was a slobber knocker, if you will. It was I can't tell you how many tweets, how many Facebook posts, everything from both sides saying, "Hey, this was an amazing experience.
Just college
Come
football.
back anytime. Let's do it again. Let's line up and do it again." They, again, storied program, huge fan base that travels, and they produce results on the field. They have brand recognition. It's not nearly what some of the other brands are in the SEC, but clearly they're doing something right down there in College Station. So,
I agree. So it definitely sounds like your vote is
they're
stay.
They're in.
Anytime that you can be new, be the new kid on the block, even if it's Johnny football, but you're out there running around, defeating Alabama.
Exactly.
Defeating LSU.
Arguably, he was the one that kind of started it all for them in the SEC, right?
I agree with you too. When you're talking about Texas teams, that feels like a natural fit. SEC West.
Yeah.
We want the Texas state. We want that.
Yeah.
The SEC wants that powerhouse state. So Texas A&M.
They're in. They're in. That's all I can say.
Texas A&M, you are in.
I'm just surprised, like I said, that there's not more Texas teams in.
Yeah. Moving on in the West, we're going to the team that finished 6-5 overall, 6-4 in SEC play, the Auburn Tigers.
More Eagle.
So to me, pardon.
Yeah. Goodness
Simply put,
throat queef.
Simply put, if Alabama's in, Auburn's in. I can talk to you about tradition here too.
Yeah.
I can talk to you about Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Bo knows.
Absolutely.
Baseball, football, college football. I can talk to you about Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Defect from Florida to Auburn.
Yeah. Worked out okay for him, I think.
The Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
You can't keep these
Cadillac
traditions.
Williams.
You can't keep these traditions if you're going to sit here at this table and say you're about
six, the kick, man, come on, man. I think you're right. Storied program, a lot of brand recognition.
They travel too.
Great fan base that travels. And they have a very storied rivalry with the number one team in college football, Alabama. So
it's easy. We're both voting that they're staying.
They're totally in.
All right, moving on next. We got 5-5 overall, 5-5 in SEC play, the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, the Bayou Bengals. So LSU's kind of weird, right? Because they're good a lot of years. They have a unique brand recognition. It's unique. I wouldn't say that they're fans travel that way. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe I just don't realize it. It's just different with them. But I think it's different in a good way. I'm not saying that they do it wrong or that they have a bad fan base. It's just different. It's huge down the farther south you get, the more divided it is between amongst teams down that way. But I think that they got to stay in. Again, another storied program. They got one of the most recognizable stadiums in all of college football with Death Valley. And arguably, are they the real Death Valley? We'll let them and Clemson sort that out. But I think they're 100% in.
I mean, I'll quickly just say it's tough for any team to go in there and play night games. I mean, we've all heard this over the years.
Yep.
Leading into the games, and it doesn't matter if you're 8-0, headed to LSU for a night game. I mean, upset alert is what they would say.
You better not look past that game.
That's usually physical games down there. I love the coach. I mean, the coach is what he kind of makes it different. Yeah, he does. Too.
I mean, he is just the perfect character
for Louisiana.
Oh,
right. So, a little water boy-ish.
Yeah.
LSU's in.
Little Bobby Boucher.
LSU's in. We're checking it off right now.
Totally.
All right. In the West, this team finished 5-5, 4-5 in SEC play. We're talking about the Ole Miss Rebels. Or Ole Miss, what are they called now?
I don't know what they're called now. I really don't want to. Yeah, we're not trying to offend anybody. We literally,
Ole Miss.
We just do not know what they're called anymore.
The baby sharks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Land sharks. I thought they were talking about land sharks for a little while, but I'm not really sure. Land shark beer.
Look, this is the first. This is the first SEC team that's questionable.
I know. I was on the fence a little bit because if you're going just strictly off of on-field results, then you're like, do
we need to circle this team and leave them as one of the candidates?
I think you have to kind of flag them for a potential to have to be called to the floor again when you compare them against some of these
later
other teams.
In the show. All right, we're going to put a circle around Ole Miss. Ole Miss, we do know that when we talk about traditions, you can't have traditions unless you have Ole Miss and a team that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Which that team may be circled too.
Yeah,
but
I know.
What do we think about Ole Miss? I mean, what do we think of? We think of Eli Manning, maybe?
Yeah. I mean,
do we think of what's the place?
Archie.
Yeah, old Arch.
Archie was there too. I mean, but you're really struggling to get something.
Is that a bad thing? Is it because
I think they have a good venue. I think that
a good pregame.
I think their
venue.
city is a nice city for a college. It's a college town. It's literally.
What do they say? Hotty toddy?
Yeah, hotty totty. I mean, everything down there is about drinking. It seems like, but
and sundresses.
Yeah, exactly. It's an experience. They have an ambiance about the way they do football down there.
All right, Ole Miss, I'm taking you off the list. I'm leaving you in.
Yeah,
if Blake is with me, I'm leaving you.
I think you have to leave him in. But this next team,
we're moving down the list. Yeah. We're talking about a team that went 3-7 overall, 3-7 in SEC play. The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah, so this one is a complicated one. It's a close call, but I'm going to say that they're out, and I'm going to tell you why.
Well, we're not even going to take them to the final discussion.
No, well, all of these, I'm going to have more than two, and then we're going to have to decide.
Let's take them to the final discussion. Okay. I'll circle it.
They're going to go. They're going to go to the cutting block.
I'm okay to take them to the chopping block.
Yeah, they're going to go to the chopping.
So, what do you think of when you think of Arkansas football? Does anything come to mind?
Annoying woo pig suey. That's all I think of, because this is the thing. It's not a good city for, no one wants to go to, where are they in? Fayetteville, Arkansas, I think. I mean, it's just, there's just not a lot of really, it's not an attraction for teams to want to come to. So even if you have a fan base that does travel, they're not going to say, oh, let's go to Arkansas. They're not going to do that. The stadium is kind of weird looking in my perception. they've consistently not put results up. They have trouble holding on to coaching staff. They have, I mean, they really haven't had a ton
Bobby
of talent.
Petrino? That prime example.
Look, you'll find on a lot of these, there's been blips on the radar.
Yeah.
You know, and Bobby Petrino was the guy that I think could have taken them to the next level. But we all know what happened
about
there.
Felipe Franks? He went from Florida to Arkansas. He was playing there last year.
Yeah, and they went 3-7.
Well, I mean, the only other player that really comes to mind, how about former Jacksonville Jaguar Matt Jones? Quarterback at Arkansas, was a receiver for the Jags.
Right.
But if that's all you got, you're on the chopping
You're
block.
definitely on the chopping block. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
All right. Then we're moving on to 4-7. Overall, 3-7 in the SEC play. Mississippi State Bulldog.
So this is another one that's on the chopping block for me.
Man,
it's tough.
It's going to be tough because Ole Miss may hold them up in the end.
Well, but the thing is I was on the fence about Ole Miss, but I think Ole Miss is a better product than Mississippi State.
Is Mississippi State Dak Prescott?
Yes. But you got to realize Starkville is a little more of a rural town. Again,
Right.
not a huge attraction for someone to go to.
I'll take them to the block with
They're a little bit more blue collar. I'm not hating on the blue collar side of things. I'm not hating on Mississippi State. I just think that you fall below the line of being not on the chopping block.
I think we have to be careful of not hating on the entire state of Mississippi.
No.
Have you ever visited? No, we're not going to go down there.
No. We're not going to go down that, bro.
All right, so
fall into that trap.
So from the West, we have Arkansas and Mississippi State on the chopping block.
Yep.
All right, we'll jump over to the East real quick.
I'm kind of scared here in the East. We'll see what happens.
This team went 8-2 overall, 7-2 in the SEC. We're talking about the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yep, I think there's no question Georgia is in. They have a very loyal fan base. They sometimes can't get over the hump. They put results to get, they put some results out there on the field. They got good brand recognition.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they're a no doubter.
Yeah, they're frankly again in one of those powerhouse factory states that we're talking about when we were talking about Texas earlier.
Yeah.
Tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the Hedges. I think about
Between the Hedges. Yep.
I think about Herschel Walker.
Yeah. Very storied programs.
It's in all day in.
Yep.
All day in.
Yeah.
The next team on this list went 8-4 overall, 8-2 in the SEC, the Florida Gators.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that there's any doubt here. I am surprised that there's not more Florida teams in the SEC, because I think that there's a lot of talent in Florida.
Oh, that's a factor.
I mean, Florida
It's a battle
State,
for those
Miami.
players, right?
I mean, why? I mean, right? I mean, come on. And now even UCF and South Florida and all these other teams are starting to come up. But Florida. I mean, winning tradition, very big brand recognition. It's in Florida. It's an attraction to go there.
It's the South.
A lot of people want to say, "Hey, if I'm a traveling fan, I want to go to Florida." Let's go to Gainesville.
This team travels. This team has brand recognition. Mm-hmm. This team has reach.
Yeah,
believe it or not, they have reach.
Yeah.
I just don't. When you think of that first SEC football title games in the 90s, when you're always seeing Bama, Florida, Bama. I can't ever imagine that the SEC would not have Florida in it. So
there would be a revolt.
They're in. We're not going to talk about all their world-class college football players just because he doesn't want to. But you're in Florida. Go Gators.
How many Super Bowl rings? Oh, we'll get on that later. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Next team went 5-5 overall, 5-5 in the SEC. They too are newer to the conference. Mizzou, Missouri.
110% they are on the chopping block. Okay. This was, in my opinion, a huge blunder on the part of the SEC, even inviting them into the SEC. They have a high school stadium, in my opinion. They have low fan interest. The fans don't travel. They're consistently bad. And again, not a city that people want to say, hey, I want to go to the Missouri game because they have such great nightlife or restaurants or whatever. So all that, there's no doubt they're on the chopping block.
For me too, you're on the chopping block. If for nothing else, that when this expansion was happening, we as SEC fans, and I'm not just talking about me and Blake, but SEC fans wanted something different. Mm-hmm. Missouri was at the.
That was not even on our radar.
That's just like the if we have to.
We would have rather had a team like UCF or USF. I mean,
they were literally talking about Notre Dame too. I mean, they wanted something different in that spot instead of Missouri. I promise they did.
Anything.
I mean,
anything.
What do you think of? Anything? Any players come to mind? I mean, I've only got
Drew
one.
Lock is the only one I can
Drew Lock,
think of.
the only one. Yeah, Drew Lock and Darren Blaine Gabbert that screwed it up for the Jags.
Yeah, how's he doing?
Oh God! All right, you're on the block.
Yeah,
you're on the block. All right, this team is just to the north of us. Not really known for their football, so we'll see. They were 5-6 overall, 4-6 in SEC play. We're talking about the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, so I was on the fence. I'm on the fence about this one. I may need some assistance here.
Yeah, please don't. We're only talking about college football.
Yes,
we're not considering
this is a completely.
Every sport.
If we're talking about all of athletics, this is completely different.
Yeah, if we're talking about that.
But again, not a good stadium. I mean, it's new, but it's not big. Fans do not travel. Fans do not want to go there.
They definitely travel the basketball team, though.
Yeah, they do. They don't really have a good track record of putting a good product out there on the field. Not really a football school either. I mean, like we just said, and but they do have some history.
Yeah,
they got a little bit of history. I want to say that they're on the chopping block, but I'm kind of on the fence.
I mean, when I take a step back and look at the totality of our task at hand here, I say they're in.
I was leaning that way.
I say they're in.
I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to influence you, but I was leaning towards in. Because there are others that I think are greater offenders.
Yeah, because I honestly never thought out. You're making good arguments for the chopping block, but my gut instinct was in. I know I'm not being biased in any way because of the basketball. I could care less about Kentucky, but I don't know, something about
F. John Calipari.
Something about Kentucky. I mean,
University of Memphis alumni right here. F. John Calipari. Sorry.
All right. So
I had to throw that in.
So just off topic, would the SEC straight up trade Kentucky for Louisville?
I think if you asked them within the last 8 years, yeah, I think so. Why not?
Just something to think about.
Lamar could have been SEC Player of the Year. Sorry,
if he was in the SEC, he wouldn't have.
Oh,
and you know that, don't you, Stephen?
Ooh, shots fired. All right, so Kentucky's
moving on. We're going to put a circle. They're in. All right, next on. Remember, this is the team that.
Well, you circled them. They're in.
In.
Yeah, so the circles are on the chalk.
Oh, yeah. Check. You're in Kentucky. Yeah. All right, so this is the team that started all of this because I heard this on local sports.
And this is going to be really deceptive because of their record.
3-7 last year overall, 3-7 in the SEC. We are talking about good old Rocky Top, the Tennessee Vols.
Yeah. I mean, really and truly. So, I mean, the record makes it look bad, but
not just this record.
Oh no! I mean, like I said, the last
decade
in the opening, I told you about the last 10 or 11 years, it's been a dumpster fire officially. But I mean, again, there have been blips on the radar along the way, but I think those blips are kind of they're kind of the red flag for me that, hey, that this is not somebody that needs to be kicked out of the SEC because, number one, they've got a great stadium. People love going to Knoxville in East Tennessee. They have a fan base that will follow them to Alaska to play a game if they wanted to. brand recognition, whether anybody likes the brand or not, is a whole nother thing. I mean, their mascot is consistently mascot and fight song, I do believe, are consistently rated the top every year. So I mean, with all that being said, I mean, yeah, they've not put a good product out there on the field, but I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that don't put good products on the field, but are still worthy of being in a conference because they have the ability to turn on a dime and be good once again.
All right. So I just wrote down some.
Any other questions?
I just wrote down some quick words from Mr. UT fan over here, and I know there are a lot of you out there, Lucas et al., that are tuning in. So he mentions the stadium.
Sure.
The stadium's a piece of crap.
In what way?
It's old as dirt. I've been there. You've been there. We're talking about bleacher seats that hurt your ass.
A lot of stadiums in college.
I mean, come on, grow
seats.
up, Knoxville.
I would dare to say the majority of college stadiums have bleacher seats.
What a garbage stadium! All right,
it's been renovated with tens and tens of millions of dollars over the last.
Get out of here. The following. You said that they would follow UT anywhere.
Yeah.
They can follow them right to the garbage can.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I mean, they're
It's
a bunch of sheep. You can follow them. And then you talk about their brand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are they known for?
Power T.
No. They're known for that orange. They go hunting. They go hunting in that orange. That's all they're known for, that orange.
Well, they didn't popularize it for hunting, but you know. Whatever.
And then you talk about the fight song. Let me tell you what burns my biscuits about the fight song. Good old Rocky Top. Woo! Leave Ric Flair out of it. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Take your fight song out of here. But I digress. Let me tell you what I really think about UT. I think tradition. Mm-hmm. I honestly, Philip Fulmer, Peyton Manning, Johnny Majors.
Yep.
Too much tradition there. They are 100% in UT SEC football. There's no. I'm not even taking them to the chopping block.
No, there's no reason to.
They're in. This team went 2-8 overall, 2-8 in the SEC. The South Carolina Gamecocks.
This is another one that I'm on the fence about, but I have a lean a certain way. Mm-hmm. They have a decent stadium. Brand recognition, I don't think they really have that much brand recognition. Now, the only thing that they're really known for are those nice little college caps that say Cox on it, just because 16-year-old boys like wearing hats that talk about, phallic.
We still laugh about it.
Oh, 100%. There was a time I really wanted to go to the University of South Carolina. I don't think they've ever been that great. I think that when Spurrier was there, that was kind of their chance to get over the hump, and they're another one that's kind of consistently been a dumpster fire. But I have a hard time. So this is a weird argument, but I think the SEC has to have a presence in the state of South Carolina. Yeah. And for that reason, I think they have to be in.
Yeah, the SEC, it doesn't feel right without having South Carolina in there. Neither one of us give a damn about South Carolina. No. Not really. No. Not really. I mean, he told you a little bit about maybe wanting to go there, and we laugh at their hats, but I think that's a part of their branding.
It is. 100%.
You're branding towards high school and college kids. Congratulations. I mean, it just is what it is with that name, I guess. But it's just something like, even when the Kentucky argument, it kind of feels Southeast.
Yeah.
To have South Carolina in there. I mean, I don't really. Do you know of any tradition? Do any football players come to mind when you think South Carolina?
No.
Jadeveon Clowney?
I guess, but I mean, how's he working out Titans?
Oh no, we're not talking about pro football, are we?
I know.
How many millions did you pay that
10.
Clowney to sit there and just
10
act like he's hurt?
10 million.
They're in.
I guess, they're
in. Wash the hands, and then we're going to go to the worst team by record in the SEC.
Probably ever.
0-9 overall, 0-9 in the SEC.
And 0-9 in your hearts.
We're talking about the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Again, not a football school. Terrible. The worst stadium in college football.
It is.
And it is embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves. They'd never, ever upgrade that stadium, ever. And they have the money to do it. That is the shameful part of it.
Are you kidding me? We're talking about Vanderbilt.
This
they
is
have money
freaking
out
the Harvard of the South. They got money coming out the yin yang. Their fans are not interested whatsoever. They won't even come to home games, much less travel. They had a chance with James Franklin to change everything there, and they were doing it, and
Big
they
time.
didn't do what was required.
They
to
did
keep
it
him.
quickly, and then it went away when they did not invest in it.
Yep,
To keep it going.
It just shows you, it just went away just like that.
They answered their own question.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt's leadership answered their own question. They don't want to be in SEC football. And remember, we're not talking about basketball, baseball, tennis, bowling, other things that they may be great at.
exactly.
We're just talking about SEC football. Their leadership does not want Vanderbilt football to be in the SEC. They really don't.
yeah.
There's no proof that they want to.
I mean, there were times this last year that they had trouble fielding a team. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am 100% for women playing college football, but I mean, they had to get a female kicker, which was great. She did fine. Not discouraging that at all. We're 100% behind her on that. But it just, I do not believe that she probably would have actually made the team against their primary kicker that was on the team.
I'm not even holding that against them.
No.
I'm not even talking about that.
But the point is they're not even. I don't know.
All right, well,
an SEC team not being able to field a team because they don't have enough players to play is unthinkable. 100% they're on the chopping block.
We're bringing you to the block. So that brings 4 teams to the block real quick.
Yep.
We've got Vandy, Missouri, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. Two of them got to go.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Two of them from
doesn't matter if,
each division.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which two. I mean, you can eliminate both from the East, both from the West, but we've got to eliminate 2 of these.
Do we want to go one at a time, or do you want me to tell you which 2 I think need to go? Because I know which.
I'm going to tell you one right away.
We're not even going to argue about this one. I have
and the one that has to go first and should have gone a while ago, the Vanderbilt Commodores.
See you out. You go.
All right, so that leaves us 3 for one more spot. We got Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi State. So look, and that's only, and this is my argument because I don't know which way we're going to go here, but my argument for Mississippi State is
their rivalry.
Let's toss Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Let's toss that state a bone.
Yeah.
How about a big old bulldog bone for Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards keeping you in, and you just continue to suck.
Air raid.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm with you on that. I think that Ole Miss saves Mississippi State.
I do too.
Ole Miss saved their little brother, is what just happened.
I mean,
I think so.
I think so.
So that takes care of that. So now we're down to Arkansas and Missouri. Now,
wow, I could argue for both to go, and let's just start over. I mean, we could get Notre Dame there in the Missouri spot, and we can get Texas in the Arkansas spot.
If you had two more teams to add right there, if we had 3 teams we could add right away, I would get rid of both of them. I'm going to tell you that I am keen on dropping Missouri. Again, I consider it to be one of the biggest blunders allowing them in the first place. At least with Arkansas, there's a smidge of history there. They have a little bit of tradition.
Yeah. Okay.
And they have, I would say they have a reasonable fan following. Now it's very localized, but they will travel because all that pig suey, I mean, that you do hear that when you go to games. So, I mean, it's, for me, it's Missouri. Sorry, Missouri, not hating on you. But you don't belong in the SEC.
I honestly remember back to our opening statements about Missouri. I don't believe that the SEC really wanted you anyway.
Yeah, I feel like it was a consolation prize almost.
And see what Blake and I are going on here is not necessarily record or track record, because the easy answer would be just get rid of Arkansas because they suck.
Yeah.
But I think the right answer, and the SEC officials would probably never admit this, but the right answer is Missouri out.
Yeah.
I don't think they want you. I don't think they ever wanted you anyway.
I think the only reason they brought him in was it might have tried to tap into that St. Louis market. And that's the wrong and I don't think that – I think that was a flawed thinking. It's a bad product.
I think that was a team on a list of 3, and they didn't get their first 2 picks, so they just had to go with you.
Exactly. It was a default.
So at the end of this, we have kicked out Missouri, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, do you even matter? In college football only. We're only talking about college football.
I mean,
and for the players that play college football at Vanderbilt, it's not necessarily your fault. It's your leadership that doesn't think that you belong anyway.
No.
They've never thought you belonged anyway. They're collecting checks off the back of UT.
Yep.
They're collecting checks off the back of Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Yeah. I mean, look, when those teams come into Nashville,
which is a great destination for people to come to.
Yeah, but guess who's there? UT fans.
Exactly.
Florida Gator fans. Yeah. Alabama fans.
Yeah.
Your own people, your own parents are putting on Florida Gator shirts. Your own grandparents are putting on UT shirts. And that's all because of the leadership at Vanderbilt.
It's terrible. It's absolutely abhorrent. I don't have anything to say about it other than that. I mean, it is a blown opportunity to be you could easily be better than a Kentucky with a little bit of money. If you put a little bit of money into facilities, a little bit of money into the program, a little bit of money into just marketing the football program in general, you had a stud of a coach with James Franklin. You let him slip through your fingers. Oh, he got offered his dream job. Bullshit.
No, he didn't.
Come on, man. If you would have thrown the money down on the table, he would have stayed because he had something going there at Vanderbilt, and he would have been in the SEC, and he would have been one of the top coaches in the SEC.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us in this exercise here on DDS, Dad's Discussing Sports. We went a little longer than we normally would, but we had
to, man, to get it all in there.
We know our audience loves some SEC football, so we will talk SEC football. But thank you again. Just remember, stay tuned for tomorrow. We're dropping some new Hey Dad.
Absolutely. You guys be well.